next on the agenda, we have the web app. So I'll just briefly show you guys that config file that basically tells the web what tabs are going to show up at the top, and you can also reorder them and things like that. There's a nice place in the help file that talks about this. So adding a tab to PO web applications. And then it talks about the normal ones, like the advanced reports and dashboards. So like integrating the PME side of things into it. Yep. Okay, so back to what I was saying here. The next topic up is the web apps, and then I'll just briefly talk about the config side of things. So this part of the help file that I get to with this link takes me to adding a tab to PO web apps, and it has some examples here. It talks about the file that you need to update to make that change, and a couple of examples of how to integrate the PME side of things into the same web app. So you can even do a specific diagram or a specific report as a separate tab, isolated. But that's if those diagrams and reports exist in PME. So for example, if you wanted to have a single report that somebody kept coming back to over and over again, show up as a separate tab, that could be useful for maybe certain individuals or everybody. So that's done by this location. Copy clipboard. This is going to go all the way through. Might not. Oh, it did. Nice. Okay. Oh. Oh yeah. Okay. Dealing with 2021. There we go. Okay, so this one here called application menu config. Right click and edit. I've installed Notepad++, which is a much nicer text file editor. And then you can see basically there is a series of tabs. So from the first one, you can see this is diag. Some of them they have a little bit of a syntax to them. For those ones, I don't typically mess with. I don't want to mess with what the syntax of anything there. Just to know that that is the placeholder section for the diagrams. So what happens first is diagrams, then alarms, then dashboards. So let's follow down the file, then we have alarms, then we have dashboards, then we have reports, then we have live view, trends. So that's kind of the order that we see it here, right? So if you ever needed to reorder things or let me know that you wanted to reorder things, this is where I would do it. If you do decide that you want anything reordered, just let me know and we can do that as part of the project. I can quickly make that change. And that's how we've exposed these tabs and or exposed some stuff from PME side of things, all in the same web app.
Is that configurable per user type or user group? So if I only want viewers to see diagrams and reports, I can have that?
I think it is. I just need to double check that in terms of if the user if we can disable the view of certain tabs. Yeah, I need to double check that. So I'm going to look at that. Take that as a question. So a little bit about the groups as well, or the tabs. You can actually access them directly as well if you want via a hashtag and then the tab name. So that could be nice as well if you wanted to do a shortcut in some way. So for example, let's say you wanted to do /alarms. That just jumps you straight to it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into diagrams because that's the core app that we want to learn about and learn a bit about how to manage. There's configuring, there's operating, and then there's a reference shortcut as well. And then as well, because there's so much power in these TGML graphics, there's a whole separate thing into, what you can do with the power of the TGML graphics and what you can do with them. So I'm not going to just, this is good reference material, of course. I'm just showing you that. I want to just get into the nitty gritty and show you guys what are the diagrams that we've made, how are they made in the back end, and also how to, do some edits. How are things linked? And the various objects on the screen that we have. So behind the scenes, much like in Vista from the perspective of PME, we have, in the PME side, we had DGM files, diagram files. In the EPO side, we have TGML files. So everything within the project's TGML folder is like your config diagrams folder, okay? And then you have, from the PME's perspective, and then you have individual TGML files. Those literally are your individual diagrams that show up on that sidebar. There's 4 files here, and the 4 of them individually show up, just like they are in this file. This JSON file you don't want to mess with, just leave it there. Basically, so any other TGML, so if I copy this file and I paste it, now I've just made a copy of that TGML. And I can refresh this page. Now I see a copy.
Damn.
So it's literally like one-to-one relationship there.
Yep.
Nothing. That's really the simple side of things. Open in a new window, set as default. So like there's only so many options you have here. But you can set a different one as default if you want. When you do set as default, let's say you are a different user than me, you can say set as my default. So if somebody wants a specific diagram to be their default to jump into right away without coming always to the main single line, they can have, for example, feeder breakers or UNY meters or something as one of the defaults. But yeah, that's literally how you can. And you notice there's no delete. This ability to rename and things like that is literally just based on the name that you give the TGML here. So if I wanted to rename the TGML on the side, okay, and then refresh, it's as simple as the name that I've just given it. I can click into it. It's going to be identical copy to the one that I copied from. Okay.
So Eric, are you making duplicates of the original file as a starting point? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I just did that as an example. Like, let's say you wanted to make an edit to a diagram, but you didn't want to mess with the original. You can also do it like I just did it, where you copy, you paste. Now you're making an edit. I'll show you how to open the graphics editor in a second, and we'll make an edit, for example, to that page. And then that page that's not going to affect the original page that I made the copy from. That can be an example. Otherwise, we can make a live edit to one of the live pages, hit refresh, and we'll see that live edit happen right away. The other folders that I'll mention here is the pop-up folder. That's going to be a key folder for us. I've just made some other example. I've kept some examples stowed away in the example folder. I've kept some images in the image folder. Again, these are all going to be pulled into a graphics. It's in some way, so just leave them there. It's not hurting anything. And then generic pop-up as well is another reference pop-up that we're not using it currently, but it is a useful thing if we need to access it. So pop-ups, you'll notice one thing about these is they all start with an exclamation point. And that's one thing that is a nice little tip and trick for anything to do with diagrams. So anything within any TGML file within this entire folder structure has to, if you don't want to see it on the sidebar, as long as if you start the file name with an exclamation point, it will be hidden. So if I wanted to make a folder structure and then have diagrams within that folder, let's say I made a test folder. I put the testing file in that folder. Now I have a test folder and I have the testing file within that folder. So it's a one-to-one relationship. And again, the files that don't show up and they will be hidden from this browser are basically everything that leads with an exclamation point. So all the pop-ups, it's not like they're not going to be able to be used. You just won't see them in that sidebar. And we'll still reference them, and all these pop-ups are being used currently, so don't worry. But they're basically, it's like a way of hiding them from that structure. That way, you can still call them individually as needed, but when you want, based on links. Okay, so I'll show you the links in a second. So let's go to the graphics editor. So I've got a shortcut here, but I'll show you from the shortcut folder, graphics editor right here. Okay, so we've opened it, and it's got a lot of window panes here. What I'm going to do is just go straight to opening a graphic. Okay, so just file, open, and let's open the substation graphic. Okay, so structure-wise, I'm just going to talk about the interface real quick before we get into the graphics. So the left-hand side here is kind of a component library style sidebar. You have equipments, you have components, and you have snippets. So these are things that you can take and you can drag into the diagram from the library, from the sidebar. Snippets are basically functions that you can drag and put on top of an actual component. So components are everything like a graphical component. These breakers are components. This utility source is a component. All of these little real-time objects are components. The text actually the text is a text box just from up here. Text field or text box. So there's various like normal graphical style things like a rectangle and ellipse and things like that you can put down. But then to make those things do things based on certain statuses, that's where the right-hand side comes into play.
Can you
So
group a bunch of components to make a massive component kind of thing? Like you group of
yes, you
squares and
got it.
triangles and that becomes its own component?
Yep, you can. So yeah, actually, these breakers, for example, are basically just a pre-made, you know, a group together thing that somebody's made, right? So we've got, and then as well, like based on a set of objects, let's say, um, you can do the same thing like you mentioned there. Like let's say you wanted to group three real-time objects together and just make that a group. Um, for some reason. I'll show you in the pop-up in a sec some other examples of that. Um, but yeah, anything where you see this plus sign, that's kind of like already showing you that there's something more beyond. So this right-hand sidebar is getting into the details of all of the things on the graphic. So left-hand side is your library and pulling things out and putting it into the graphics. Right-hand side is the properties of anything you click on, and then also the linking and the structure. So the objects tab is everything inside this graphic. So starting with the TGML structure level itself, this is the main page. If you go File New, I'm not going to save. Go File New, you just start fresh with a blank thing, and it just says TGML, and there's nothing inside it yet. and then you can of course drag and add something, and then that shows up here. And there's two things. There's two parts to the TGML. There's definitions section. There's always a definitions section, which is like your, let's say, yeah, like the way that every object, if you've dragged a new object out, every object has a definition level, which is like your properties of all of those objects. So you can see, and then these are the individual objects themselves. So if you dragged two breakers, you'll have two different breakers, but the definition section is still only one. So that level is basically defining breaker.bkr2 MV, so medium breaker draw out, rackable, and vertical underscore V. And there you can see the hashtag at the end of the breaker name here. That is your basically reference to what definition it is. So if I modify this definition, there's actually a whole bunch of stuff I can go in and tweak. Let's say, and if I do that at the definition level, that will actually change both of those breakers all at once, like the properties of those breakers.
I presume if you grabbed a horizontal breaker, that creates a new definition.
Yeah, so if I grabbed a horizontal, now I've got, let's undo that. Yes, I have two definitions. There's my vertical and there's my horizontal. And then individually I have two verticals and one horizontal.
Okay.
Yeah. So this sidebar, look, when you get to a complex graphic like we have for the substation, it can get to look pretty messy and pretty busy. But just know that that's the inherent baseline structure. Is just there's a definition section, and then there's a ton of objects that are all the individual objects underneath that. And then you can create groups of objects and have properties roll up for those groups and things like that. I'll show you some of that. So let's look at one of these breakers, for example. This is one of the switches in the incoming. Okay, what's going on here? We've got a switch, we've got a name. So there's an ID associated with it. I'm hovering over top just to show the little, oops, notification. just undo that. There's a switch. There's an ID. So everything has to have a unique ID. And then names are and I typically try to leave them as they are when I pull them out. Pull the objects out into pull a new object out into the graphic will automatically ID it with a unique ID. So you can see this one is 2, this one is 3. That was literally just dragging them out, and they self-named themselves in IDs. And then I've custom named them based on there's a name field that is, associated with that breaker or that switch. This one, that's the 60D3 that I'm clicking on here. So you can select an object from the graphic, or you can select an object from the side. Either way, it gets selected. So let's say I clicked on 60D3 there. Yeah, that's selected there. And then when you select something, that's the properties that you see down here. So if I know what I'm going to and I want to pick something, as soon as I pick this breaker, that changes the properties window to show the properties for that breaker. Okay, and then what else do I have? I have the definition of that switch. So this is a switch.pso switch underscore ANSI isolated. So if I were to modify and I wanted to modify all of those ANSI isolated switches, you could go into the definition level. And let's say, so for example, when I was modifying the thickness of the lines, remember, Richard, we wanted to make them a little bit thicker and everything.
Yeah.
That's the level I was doing it at. And then that would trickle down into all of the objects. And as well, if you dragged a new one out, you would have that new one inherit those same properties, which is nice. Then what else do we have here? We have a top bus name, a bottom bus name, and an active condition and a base color. So base color being what's the base color of this object before it turns on or off. So the black, everything is black, and that's typical. Active condition being what is the tag that is going to turn this switch into active or inactive. And so this is where you link. This is the first place where you understand what's a tag link to an object. And so this is a place where you link, and this is what's called a binding in the graphics. So how did I find that tag and how did I link that is done under here. So show all equipment. And what I want to do is I want to just navigate this tree. So I know that a lot of this breaker stuff is all under the R tag, so I expand that out. And then I can find what tag I want based on, which feeder. And you can right click. So let's say I wanted to just, for example, for some reason choose F20 close. I'd right click here, copy to clipboard. Okay. And that copies, I'll just paste it into Notepad first. There it is right there. So it's taking the full tag name, which is exactly what you need for this process to work. The active condition needs to be the full tag name. And then so that's in there. You can also put qualified flags on that. So let's say that that tag name was instead of a digital, it was an analog. Like I put voltage in there and I wanted to say if it's going to be active when voltage is, above 0 and inactive, otherwise. Well, you can do greater than a value as well in an active condition, or less than a value. Equals sign is 2 equals. So let's say you wanted to say equal when this was equal to 0 instead of equal to 1, because right now without any qualifiers or anything, it's going to behave as if it's a 1, it's active, and if it's a 0, it's inactive, and that's it.
Why do you have to do 2 equal signs as opposed to just a single equal?
That's the syntax. It's I think it's Java based syntax. So that's the Java syntax for unequals.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes back to Sepide's question way back when, if we wanted to do something that's based on a variable that's not a 0 or 1, you could put the equation here, greater than. Can you do an actual formula at this point?
This only works with the tag and a. You could do formulas, but within you'd have to put. You could do formulas, but you'd have to put them within a script. So I'll show you scripts in a second. But yeah, there's more power beyond just this active condition. Active condition is going to work based on a tag and a little math to that tag.
So is this how you make the bus change color?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So this will take. There's a back-end engine called the single line or the real-time engine. Let me go to I save? No. Ba, 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 ba. Signing one-line colors. Go. And also, how it works. So I'll show you that. Oh, I didn't save anything, so. I think I want to, yeah, there we go. Okay. Connection debugger and buses and set colors. Yeah. I think it's going off of the duplicate diagram that I made. That was 0 before. So set colors. So here's inactive color and active color advanced. But you can create you can change the colors, you can modify them, and also go to bus, for example. Here's where we can see all our buses and all of the names we've given the buses. Each diagram is in here. U and Y, so there's our sources. So an active condition, bus name. So you can see a lot of the linking and stuff in a nice way here. I don't typically modify this, but this is a good way to check things, and then set the colors. I'm going to go back to removing that TGML for a second here. just close this and reopen it. One thing that is important to know is the graphics editor, when it opens, let's say you updated tags or anything like that as well, like those tags associated to bindings in the graphics editor. The only way to get this let's say you updated it, the only way to get this list refreshed, first of all, you have to make those changes live. So you'd have to restart the project, restart the runtime, and then also open and close and then open the graphics editor. It loads those tags upon initial load. And it will load as well based on the active project that you specified in the studio. So what are my... Oh, it's coming from... Oh, that's okay then. Yeah, it's just coming from these other graphics that are not part of my projects. It's not a worry right now. Okay. So let's go back to this switch. I want to show you something else. So the bus names, that's important, but these are completely customizable. So if you drag a new object out, you can name a bus whatever you like. And you just have to make sure that whatever is connecting to that bus at the bottom or the top, so in this case, top bus name is 60L56 source bus. If I click on the source, notice their source has a property called bus name. Now, because the source is just a single point of a bus connection, whatever I give there has to be the same. So there's my 60L56 source bus. So I typically go through, if I'm making a change, and I make sure that from the top, I copy that label, then I go to the next object down, literally click naming this the same in the one line engine that connects those 2 points together. And then the same thing goes forward for the bottom bus name. This bottom bus name will only become active when the active condition closes the breaker or the switch, and then that active condition flows through that switch. And then that will then in turn turn the bottom bus and the bottom bus name on. So here's 60D1 bus, and notice all of this is a horizontal bus. It's named 60D1 bus. The top of this switch is named 60D1 bus. So they're all connected at this point right here. Below that, I'm going 60DT1 bus, and there's the 60DT1 bus. That's the bottom of the bus. That's the top of this one, and then this one I'm calling 60T1 bus, and that's flowing down to here. Right, undo.
So if you get one letter wrong or one number, it won't communicate.
Yeah, if your name is wrong, it won't work. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
will that show up as an error though? If once you've built something and you're like, oh, you got an error here, it's not all connected. Like if you're trying to.
Yeah, you will if you go to. I mean, it might be a little bit. Sometimes it's tricky to find the issue. That's why that list of buses is a good thing to look at after the fact, because it will show you all the names there of the bus names that you've given, and then as well what else, if you look at your sync align, this graphic editor has a little issue I find with doing undos, so I don't like to do do sometimes. I just close, or I close the graphic and reopen it. I think it's a bit of a bug or something. I prefer to think the update should help with this issue.
So for all those places where top and bottom bus name, you have to type those letters in manually. You don't just click on something, copy
Yeah,
paste, or
so I
like.
always use copy paste whenever I'm doing those, so I'm not typing in and making a mistake.
Jeez.
I mean, there is see this auto connect little link there? There is a feature that basically allows you to, and I'll show you that in a second, in a side graphic. It allows you to auto connect components together, and that will, and when you're doing that connect, you'll see how it works. It basically takes the property and auto fills it in for you. So that in itself, it's a nice feature to have, and it saves you from having to do that link manually.
Yeah. No, Stan was just making a note that it's similar to our modeling software where you're building it. You have to link the source and load.
Mm-hmm.
But not as sexy.
Okay. I'm just gonna kill this. Doesn't like it.
This issue with the undo, is that a problem straight across for all the deployments you've done? Or is this hinky with ours?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it too often. But it could be this version, and I mean, there's a whole new version out now that we should update you to. So after this, I do want to do that with you guys. And that should, I know they've made a lot of improvements on the graphics editor side of things, so it should fix that issue. So, for example, like that I was saying, let's say you had two breakers, you had this. If I uncheck that, then hovering this one over the other one doesn't auto connect it. See that the little circle once it's like saying it's trying to detect something. It's like, oh, I think you're there, so I might connect you, but I didn't have it connected, the auto connect on. When I have it turned on and I see that circle, it auto links now.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then what happens is, notice the bottom bus name became filled in with something. This is a nice long cryptic name, but it's definitely unique. And what's happening there is that unique name is flowing through to the next layer. And if you wanted to, the reason why I didn't want to do that like that is because I don't like these unique, these highly cryptic names. Sometimes I'd want to see something more identifiable. So I make my own names, I copy paste them. Okay, so back to this.
If you had a device that was horizontal, Eric, what would be considered the top bus?
Yeah, so let's look at the horizontal ties down here. So B1 left, the top bus is the left side, and the bottom bus is the right side.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of like how you read left to right, top to bottom. So let's just see what else is here on this switch before we move to another thing. We have a pop-up. So what's going on here? Besides these parameters that that I've just talked about, the exposed parameters, properties, talking about the bus. This is all you the things that I've talked about so far. It's all you need to do to find that this switch works. So it's active condition. If you don't have that linked and it's blank, you've linked the bus, top bus and bottom bus, but you haven't told it whether to turn on or off. So if you unlink that, let's do that first real quick. Show you what that looks like. Now it's gone to a discolored mode because it doesn't know what kind of condition, so it's black. So it's gone to that inactive, unknown state and that base color that we've defined it as. And it's also flagged it with a exclamation, so it's saying this object has nothing has something an issue linking to it. Okay, fixed. Actually, it fixes it live without even a refresh in that case. Certain things even are faster to refresh than others.
How did you fix? Did you auto connect to fix
I
it?
still like to refresh. No, I just when I took the condition out, I just cut it to my clipboard and then I pasted it back in. This
I
condition here.
see. Yeah, you
Yeah.
just applied the condition.
I just cut it out. I saved the changes so that it didn't know anything about the active condition. It went like that, and then I put it back and I saved the changes again.
Okay.
So this is an example where you did not have to recompile it and rerun it
There's
again.
no recompile at all to do with the graphics, actually. All of these saves that I'm doing, the only thing you would need to do a recompile on, it would be, let's say you had added new tags that you then wanted to link into new graphic pieces.
Okay.
But once you've populated your tags list and you have them all here in the equipment list here, anything beyond this, you don't need to recompile.
Okay.
You're free to save changes, duplicate graphics, make a new version of that graphic, all of these things, and then just hitting refresh on the browser will inherit all of that live as you go.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's quite easy to make changes on the fly. So I wanted to show you the pop-up for a sec. So what's going on with this pop-up? There is a link and a script underneath this use switch something, So when you drag this an object out from the library on the left-hand side to start with, there's nothing underneath it. Okay, here's my chubby fat breaker. You can see look how it went big on us, and that's because I've changed the definition of that breaker at that definition level, and it's instead of that other TGML that we were doing where there was no definition, this one's inheriting that from this graphic. So the bigger size and everything. Yeah, you can see underneath here, there's no pop-up. There's nothing underneath it. There's no plus sign. It's just a straight breaker, and it doesn't know. And all these conditions are empty right now by default. All right. But in terms of this one, we have a link and we have a script. Now that's created by dragging this little snippet on top of it. So you can do the same thing from a components perspective from a new component. Take that and then drag pop up on top of it. Where when you see that plus sign on your mouse, let go, and that'll put it there. Now I could click on it again. and I can see there's a plus sign on my breaker, and there is a link and a script underneath it. So what's that linking to right now? Right now it's linking to some generic pop-up that it's part of that PLS includes project. It's a default thing, and it's not necessarily the one that I want to link to, but that's not a problem. I can easily change that. So how do I do that? Here, the link is literally defined as where you are in the structure of your TGML folder. So I'm already started in the TGML folder. What's the subfolder? The subfolder is called pop-ups / and then the name of the pop-up. Not even a TGML, not a .tgml, just leave it like that. So that's going to go into the pop-ups folder and find me the exclamation point 60D1 pop-up. And it's going to open pop-ups folder 60D1 pop-up. If I deleted this or it was named something different, that link wouldn't work. But because I have it there, boom, that's going to work. So that's the pop-up that's going to open. And I can open that pop-up and have a look at it. 60D1 pop-up. That's the pop-up that it's going to open, and we will see in a second. When I click on it, that's the pop-up that opens. Now, how do I know that that's the pop-up that opens? Because nothing here is necessarily telling me that, because we kept them all fairly generic in terms of naming. But you can see from this pop-up that I have some specific functions and specific things that are going on in here. I'll get into the pop-ups in a second because there's some layers here that we'll talk about. And that's to do with the multi-step ability of this pop-up. But we can see, from example, for clicking on this, what's the meter that it's going to jump out to and open. I have a link underneath the image of this pop-up that is linking to a specific diagram. And that's our meter diagram that it's linking to. If I go all the way to the right-hand side, this link, it's calling out that specific meter, the 60L56, which is the closest meter. I was like, okay, let's open up the closest meter to this, because this is a switch, right? Closest meter to the switch is that incoming meter.
So you can create any diagram you want and make that a pop-up, essentially. So if I built a new diagram and I say, you know what, I want this to be a pop-up, and I could save it in
Yeah,
the
you can
pop-up
make
folder.
any TGML could inherently be a pop-up. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yep. So doesn't necessarily. I mean, the main thing about pop-ups and how I would try to treat them as different as diagrams, but Nick, you don't necessarily have to. Is that pop-ups, you don't necessarily want them to show on the sidebar because they're kind of like sub-diagrams of a bigger diagram.
Yep.
So the structure that we create, we try to create it in a way that you could have a folder called pop-ups, or a folder. You could name the folder anything. You don't have to name it pop-ups, but you could name it. You could have a bunch of groups of pop-ups. Maybe you had different substations and you had a folder for every substation. And then in each of those substations, you had your pop-ups.
But the same process.
The same process.
You do the same process to create a one-line diagram as you do to create a pop-up diagram
But
with
exactly,
this editor.
Exactly. It's just simply a different size of the diagram.
Yeah.
And then different objects on the diagram.
And that's another thing. How do you size this diagram? The pop-up is clearly a smaller size diagram.
Yeah, so that's at the TGML level. At the very top level, there is a resolution size here. Height and width.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that's it. That's your resolution.
So when I'm looking at the screen here, that would represent the real size of it.
It's pixels, yeah, 1-to-1 relationship pixels. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 370 by 370. And if we go back to the main diagram, that TGML level is, I believe I made it. Yeah, okay, I made it wider and a little bit more narrow than 1080p because there is a banner, with the
Yep.
web browser. So I wanted it to be. I was playing with that width and height, but basically because I needed it to be wider to keep to get all these objects on it, I made it. That's why I made it 2100. Because each of these objects inherently has its own pixel size, like its own little resolution. So once I added them all the feeders, right, left to right, we had to make it a little bit wider. But the nice thing about it is it's stretching, and then you've got your zoom ability with just a mouse click. So anything here you can zoom in and out of with just your mouse scroll wheel. Okay, so that's how the pop-up is working. Now there's a script as well that's involved in that. Those two pieces, they go together. And I don't typically mess with the script unless there's a reason to. Because the snippets, the pop-up works in the way that it works, and the script, natively launches it, is what happens here. And this is a JavaScript. But you can click into this content field, and you can see that there's a script there, and it says, okay, what's gonna click and behaviors. There's a click, and on document load, load. So what happens is inside this little function block, you have what happens on the click, what happens on the load. There's nothing that happens on the load, but the click is everything. So it opens this pop-up, and there's a string here. I just leave this default. The only thing that I may want to change and tweak on a pop-up script is this resolution as well. So what happens here is I set this to be the same size as the pop-up that's going to be launched, because sometimes I think natively, if I drag this pop-up little snippet out and on top, it has its own inherent resolution size that it thinks the pop-up is going to be, and I often change that. That's all, based on whatever the pop-up is. So, like for example, this T1, clicking on the T1 has a different pop-up, and that one is a much bigger size. Right, so that one, if I look at the link and the script are literally the same thing. It's just pointing to a different pop-up, and the script, it's got a different resolution size in it.
And where does
everything else is the same.
Where does the position of the pop-up play into when you click on it?
Yeah, the position is coming from literally where you click. So it launches like X and Y axis straight off of your mouse click. So you can see like where I click is where it launches from.
Okay, so it goes right and down.
Yeah.
From that point on.
Yeah.
So when you say the pop-up is 370 by 370, it'll right wherever your mouse is pointing, it'll 370 across, 370 down.
Yeah.
And if I wanted
that's this part, the gray area here and inside. The banner is separate. The banner is its own little banner. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, this one doesn't have a problem. This one does.
Hey, Eric, just a quick thing on that. Yesterday when I was on the SCADA here, I had a pop-up window. So where you have this here, and I don't know how I got it, but it actually moved up the screen below the thick green bar at the top, and I couldn't click on the X. I couldn't right-click on it, and I'm like, how do I close this? Because I couldn't grab it. Like it wouldn't allow me any arrows. I don't know if it was a glitch or.
Yeah, it does seem to be a bit of a quirk, and I found this too when I tried it. I duplicated what you were saying.
Yeah.
Richard told me about it the other day. So the only way to get around this, unfortunately, the workaround is just to refresh.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I basically did. I just had to
Yeah.
refresh a new screen and tab, and then just close the other one off. But
Oh, you can
yeah,
just hit refresh. You don't have to go to a new tab.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, that works.
'Cause
Yeah,
it already knows where you are, so you can it's just hitting refresh will take the screen back to normal.
gotcha. Okay,
Like let's say
thank
you've
you.
zoomed in and you're like, oh, I want to go back to like the original resolution and zoom, you can just hit refresh and it will take you back to
I see. Gotcha.
original frame
Okay,
as
that
well.
works. Yeah.
All right. So let's look at a couple more things on this page, and then we'll get into like the layers of a pop-up, for example, because most of those are very, very similar, and they're just different different links within them. I want to show you one of these analogs, and actually just the text field as well. So simply text. You could do a Control C, Control V. Make a new text, give it a bunch. So the content is the only thing you need to change here. So okay, there it is. For some reason, I lost my bold. So there's a font style, there's a font size, there's a font family. Okay, can make it a different font. There's vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, whether you're doing right or left. So in this case, I wanted to do right, and then put them all to the right side. If I stretch this box, it just automatically crops itself. Yeah. So this is there's a text field, just this. And there's a text box, which you have to size. So this is a text field, this is a text field, this is a text box. These two are text fields. You can just simply click and drag them around. And the box, of course, has, ability to be stretched. And actually, you can't make multiple lines, but it does do word wrap. So, you do have to keep the text all in one line, but it will word wrap around. So as long as you resize it to make it a little bit more squished, all of those words will just go down. And once again, saving. Makes that change live. So, if you wanted to make a note to your operators, that's an easy way to do it as well. I could see you guys maybe utilizing that to maybe say, if you wanted to call out something, put something below one of the feeders, a specific footnote or something. It's an easy way to make some live text happen real fast. Drag again, that's the text up here or the text box. Simply Or you can copy paste from an existing piece of text. All right, these analog values, these display boxes, they're a simple component on the left-hand side as well. They're underneath this group called My Components. So we've created some custom components for you guys. I'm not using them all. A colleague of mine has developed them, but we're utilizing. So if we want to know more about some of them, we can definitely find out for you guys. But I'm using the analog display simple, and that's what they're all called here, analog display simple. And this one, you can see hashtag analog display simple. So if I drag out a new analog display simple, now it does look a little bit different. So what happened and how did I make that a little bit different than the default? In this case, I put a couple of changes on the object. Where is it here?
Sorry, Eric, just going back to Richard's earlier question, is this list modifiable? Like, for example, can I define a new, like an object or symbol and add to this?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and this is more getting into the advanced graphics, but definitely. So this is if you have the wherewithal and the time to spend to make something and to tweak something, you can right click on any object, for example, duplicate. And that's going to create a new component of the same style and type in this library. There's others. You can import libraries. You can export entire libraries to make like your own little grouping objects or your own um, uh, library component library. These are called component libraries. Sorry. Yeah. And then and there's a bunch in here that as well. I think we probably want to reduce for you guys. We don't have to show, for example, fans. Like there's a whole bunch here that are kind of HVAC related. So because this graphics tool is also used for the HVAC controller version of software that we have. So
Yeah, then it
but yeah,
definitely helps to be
definitely
modifiable.
definitely you can. Yep. And rename, edit. So actually edit here as well as is something I'll just talk about briefly. If you click edit, do I want to save changes? No. What is that going to do? That's going to take a unique, quick edit on the just that component. So notice now I've opened that component in the graphics editor. So if I make an edit to it, it's going to edit that component in the component library. And we've got some other videos in the advanced TGML and in this big playlist that it gets into that. So where is it here? And we configure a breaker component. Configure the default multi-source colors. So sort of what we were talking about, adding libraries. We have an exchange where you can add libraries from, linking to a standard pop-up, and creating a custom pop-up. So we're kind of talking about both of those. Explore a one-line component. So this video right here gets you into and customizing a one-line component. These two right there get you into that ability right there. Good question. So yeah, so what I've done here, this is the reason that this one is different is because I've modified these up at the definition level. And I've modified the height, the dimensions of it, and what else did I do? I put the border on it. Oh yeah, inside of that there's a rectangle, and that's where there's a stroke and yeah, so these kinds of parameters are the ways to tweak it. So basically, what I recommend doing is if you want to keep the value and the style consistent, just copy and then go over to an empty area of the graphic and paste, and then it will take all of those properties and continue on with what you have. And then the only other things that you need to modify here for one of these analog displays to work is the tag, and I'll show you how that links. And then you have a units field, so you could put amps in there, for example, and you can put decimal places. Now, Richard, you said you wanted no decimal places, but if you ever wanted to change that back, you could just add a value to that, and you'll get decimal points back. And so how is this linked up? This takes the name. There's two parts to it. There's the signal, which is the tag. But in this case, sometimes the tag is the name of the device and then the tag name separate. So in this case, this is how it works. It's taking the name. You have to link the name of your device into that as the name of this object. So all of these, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice they all have the same name here, but they are all different signals. I average, power factor tote, watt tote, and kVA tote. And that's straight from the binding, the short name of these labels. I average, KW tote, kVA tote. Okay. Those are the only properties that you need to change if you wanted to make a new one. And so I would have to link this with that name. So let's say I right-clicked, copy name, put it in this name field. So now I've got F11 meter. Unique ID, good. It automatically does that. You can see they're going on and on and on, and you just keep incrementing. Center align, 2 decimal places. Say VA on the units and kVA tote. Save. There's my analog with the decimal places and the units. So pretty simple.
It's not so bad.
Yeah. And once you kind of get used to that structure, you'll find that most objects kind of work like that. It's either that active condition, which you need to make as like for breakers and stuff, you need to make the tag directly in there, or it's something like these ones where you have a signal, and that's the tag, and the name is the parent device. So most of the obviously objects that are in this big diagram are those analogs. There's a few buses, right, that are the interconnects. This is a horizontal bus. That's an interconnect from all of these breakers. There's some vertical busing. That's interconnecting these transformers and the breaker. There's a couple of sources. And then within these, we've made some clickable links for the pop-ups that are happening on all the breakers. So because I wanted to make a bigger thing for you guys to click on, I put a invisible rectangle on top. So just so you know, if you ever wanted to get to access these breakers, signal, like the analog signals there, or the text behind here, or this breaker itself, you have to click here and then just move this away. I'm just using my arrow key on my keyboard to slowly move it.
How did you put it on top versus behind?
So this is going to be the clickable link. That is because we want you guys to be able to click on something that's larger. So that's the way to make that.
Not quite picking that up exactly.
What do you mean?
How did you created an invisible...
I created a simple rectangle. It doesn't have a border, and yeah, it's basically just a transparent way to make a button.
But how does it know its position to be on top of the
data
you versus behind it?
Well, when you drag it, everything that you drag onto the graphic is automatically going to be the top layer.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to move, you can always arrange as, bring to front, or send to back. There's that option too.
Okay. That was a right click to get that?
Yeah, right click on any object. Yeah.
Okay.
Right click on any object allows you to, and then there's group options as well, which we were talking about as well. But I'll show that in the pop-up. There's a group as way of grouping things together.
So you just grabbed a rectangle and put it there, and you can actually click on a rectangle to do something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like one simple thing about rectangles is they work well for something like this that is like a invisible button. The other thing, and then I just linked a pop-up on top of it, and then linked my pop-up.
Yeah, cool.
And it's that simple. It operates now like a button because I've linked a pop-up on top. The function of there's other buttons that are looking more like a nice button, but those are more visual, and I wanted this to be invisible, so that's why I used them. That's why I used a rectangle.
Yeah, perfect.
But another thing about rectangles, they work great for status objects. So, for example, if you wanted to just have a small square that turns on or off or becomes visible or invisible based on an alarm condition, red, green, changing color, simple like that. We have other objects that are like that are just built off of a rectangle. Super simple. Yeah. So you can see like the graphics can become as simple or as kind of complex as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is this for the test environment that you have this invisible rectangle that's linked to something?
Yeah. It's not for the test environment. No, this is live. So now because of that, I have this that's covering the entire feeder. Anywhere you click on that feeder opens up the pop-up.
Oh, okay.
The pop-up is openable from anywhere on that feeder.
Okay, if I didn't know about your invisible rectangle, I would have thought that I clicked on those cells individually and it opened up. but this is basically to say that everything like is for that feeder 12 F16 basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can
Or
reduce the
15.
size if I
Yeah.
wanted to, but so far I've just had it, so I'm stretching it across the whole thing. So it gives you a, especially if you're on mobile, for example,
Yeah.
it gives your finger a bigger thing to push. It gives you, I mean, you're only opening up a pop-up anyway, so we might as well make it the full thing. Because it's not like we're trying to compartmentalize two pop-ups into one. For example, let's say if I wanted to have a separate pop-up only open when I clicked on the breaker, and I wanted something specific to show for that, then I would limit its size to be just the top portion.
Yeah.
And then I could have another pop-up spawn based on clicking the breaker.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Like down here, I have F16 opening up. So what happens beyond that? Let's have a look at one of these pop-ups. So for example, 12F15. Okay. So there is a few layers to this pop-up, and this is the way we've been able to successfully make the pop-up, Richard, work now that it's only going to have one window, and it's not going to have the multi-tiered layers there. You click beyond the first button, it goes to the same window, and the next option over. Open breaker, close breaker, and then you get the final page. And I put the text on there that says button will operate breaker.
Yep.
Okay, so they all work like that now within
That's
the
cool.
same window, only one pop-up. And the nice thing about pop-ups as well is you can click and drag them around the screen. So if you wanted to have a visual look, you can actually even open up multiple at the same time. Have them all on the screen at the same time. So there's a layer effect going on here now with this single pop-up, and there's 3 separate layers, because basically we have that first click, which is after this button gets you to the second layer, and then that layer has 2 buttons on it, one that goes in one direction for the open, one direction for the close. So those are 2 separate, again, layers. Just depends on which one you click on. So here's the 3 layers, and to see that, you go View Layers on the top here, View Layers. And what that will do is it brings up another little window on the side, little tab that allows you to see and edit your layers. So the click of the eye to check mark that makes you see that layer. If I unclick it, it goes away again. Click, unclick, and the radio button to edit. Okay, so if I move that down, now I'm editing this layer. Now I go back to my objects, and I can click on something here, and it's going to show me the component that I'm editing, and I'm going to edit it. Okay, so for example, that warning rectangle that flashes, that's up here. It's invisible to start with, but then it animates based on that condition. So here's what's happening there, Richard, when we evaluate that. So what this is simply a rectangle turned into a flashing rectangle warning box based on an animating bind. So it's taking the current, and because we want to evaluate based on if that feeder is live, doesn't have any current flowing through it. And then there's a convert to start flashing based on if it's greater than or equal to 1. and or if it's less than 1. So I've just made that as the threshold right now, 1 amp. One amp turns that to flashing or not. And the same thing, there's the yellow box. The same thing with the text that's inside of that box. It's warning text, and the same thing happens there. It's doing the same animation, turning on and off for loaded or unloaded. And it's flashing the content which says warning feeder is loaded. So, and then layers wise, we've got those 3 layers we can click. And the more that you enable visually to be visible, the top layer obviously takes precedent and comes over top of everything. Even if I hide these other ones, I can't see them anyway. But if I have the top layer exposed, I'm only going to see that top layer. I have to hide it again to not see it. Now I can see the close breaker layer. Now I can see the control layer. Now I can see the TGML base layer. So it goes in that succession always.
Pretty cool.
And you can raise and lower the layer, move up or down. And so, yeah, so what happens beyond that at the final stage here, where we're going to control the breaker? The control open breaker button, this is why it takes effect, because now we're no longer, this button is no longer making a pop-up open or anything like that. It's got a data point link to it, and it's acting like a control button. So it's got a data point. It's writing a 1 to that data point, and that's your open control data point. The same thing for the close. This close layer have a button. It's a write operation button. It's got a data point, the close control. And here's the coloring scheme, right? So again, everything is we can tweak it to the cows come home. We have you have a gradient happening on that button, so it looks nice. There's the ability to tweak what happens when you hover over top of it, as opposed to like when you hover your mouse over top of it, as opposed to not, things like that. And like hover color, you can see that changes it a little bit. So when you go into the real button itself, you can see this one is a slightly lighter yellow. You can see this one changes the red slightly.
I see.
Yeah. So it makes it look like you're, hovering over a proper button. It's kind of how buttons behave in the web. As for breaker status, this is a nice status object, like what I was talking about with the rectangle becoming more powerful version of a rectangle. It's made into a component that we've made, and then basically has a bind that's linking to circuit breaker close status. So in this case, if we wanted to duplicate this and relink it to another breaker, simply changing that bind would do that. Yeah, that's just the bind that we need. Everything else within this component, so this high level object here, copying and pasting it makes a duplicate of it. The color scheme of what it looks like when it turns on and off and changes is in the script. So inside the script, there's a fill that happens. and the name, the label changes to be breaker status open or breaker status closed. So we can change that text as well to show something different. And this is the red color for close, and this is the green color for open.
So this is where you would edit that text to make it say closed or open in this little JavaScript.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Okay.
If I modified that, so breaker status closed with an exclamation point. Okay. Now I'm modifying my F15 pop-up. The key thing about these pop-ups is you do have to deselect the layers before you make the final save, because what that does is it starts the pop-up off at this layer of visibility. If you have layers selected and then you hit save, this radio button doesn't matter, but it's the visible part that matters. If you have layers selected, it will automatically jump you to that layer selected. So make sure that that's saved like that. And now we open F15. Close breaker. Now we have my exclamation point. Yeah, simple as that.
The font size in that particular text objects, where's that done?
Font size, yeah, I'll show you that 1 second. Let's go back to my script. Yes, font. Font size here. That's that is no, sorry, that's not it. This is all right in my component text here. This text. So 20. 20 is our font size. So the reason why I have breaker status in here as a content piece is because this helps it acts as a placeholder for the text that will end up filling in this. But the breaker status by itself is acting like the placeholder for that text to come in. So if I change this will change to 16. That changes that size, and then you can see how text, the object is called breaker stut, BKR stut. Inside the script is telling breaker stut to become that text. Saying get child breaker stut, and then it's saying content will become this.
So this JavaScript is created automatically. You can just go in there and tweak it though, right? Is that how it works?
This JavaScript is something we created to fill in that instead. Basically, it's taking the status and making it a controllable text.
But did you have to write this JavaScript, or are you just tweaking this JavaScript?
We've made it over the last couple of years. We've made some objects like this. Yeah, I mean,
so the objects
we've pulled from other objects to make something like this, for example.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to take a full course on JavaScript writing
to
be able to do this kind of stuff.
And again, like the power is there, but the ability to create things from scratch is another level of of ability. I would focus on anything that's there is great to use and utilize, and beyond that, leave that to us, for example. Unless we're a wizard that you hire as a co-op and he's fucking phenomenal at at JavaScript and you want him to do some cool customized stuff, that's what I would do with that. So basically there's a ton of power there, and again this is what's called a bind, and then we're running the script based on that bind. and that's taking and it's changing the text and the color of the rectangle. And that's why rectangle has status as a label layer and text has breaker st, and then the script is changing both of those things. Breaker st and status. Those are children within this component. Yeah. So I'll just reopen something else because I don't want to save those. Oh, another thing that you could notice as well is this bottom layer that I haven't talked about yet, but it is a live look at when you're in the graphic, uh, and anything that is called out from a value, from a link, from the device, it's called out here. So, if you had some bad link or some, for example, in that pop-up, there's only two things there. So you can see that, one is within this pop-up, there's two links. There's one link that's going to the current that's controlling that flash of the feeder being loaded, and then the other one is the close state of that object. Now both no matter whether we're on the open or the close, this breaker status always is linked to the close control or the close state of the breaker. Just basically 1 or 0.
Where did you plug in the value to consider the breaker as loaded? Where's that?
Yeah, so that's here under the control, and then underneath this we have that control layer. We have the warning box and the text box. So the warning box being that yellow flashy thing. There's a bind right there.
And
So basically, whenever and there's a good little video on this if you wanted to just play with how to do this from scratch, like how do you make a bind? What is a bind and how does it work? Because you can literally just go, well, let's make a new rectangle. Not gonna save this, but I'll just make a new rectangle. Okay, there's my empty rectangle in my layer. It's got a fill. It's not bound to anything. It's just simply a rectangle right now. So what happens how do you do bind? You right click on it and you go, where is it? Oh, sorry, right click over here. Yeah, new, bind. So there's a whole bunch of different things you can link to objects. Animate being one, bind, expose. These are all kinds of things you can get into. I typically stay with either an animate or a bind because those are the two things that I'm used to using. I'm by no means a full expert in making full graphics completely custom, but there's layers to learn, right, on this. So binding makes a bind underneath that rectangle, and now it's like, okay, what do you want to do? So if you put like in terms of this one, you put it in the name field. Now this is bound to this rectangle, but it doesn't know what to do with that yet. But at least you have a bind. And now, and then you can create an attribute to tweak with that bind decision, being let's say you wanted to turn it red or green based on that link. That's why we have an animate, or you can simply do a custom convert value. Here we go, new on that bind, new convert value. And since this is a current, less than or equal to or more than or equal to, so more than, signal of more than or equal to 1, new convert value more than, less than or equal to, less than, how about less than 1? And that's fine. So now we're taking an analog signal and we're converting it. But now what are we converting? What's the attribute that we need to bind? Attribute being fill, okay? So fill is the attribute. So now based on that bind, I'm making a link that's saying, okay, I'm going to change the fill, and I'm going to change it based on this. Convert value is converting from like that signal being higher than or equal to 1. Now my attribute value, and look at, because I chose fill, I can choose a color now. It automatically knows that. So now it's going to be red if it's higher than or equal to 0, and green, some sort of green, that it's lower than 0, lower than 1. Okay.
I see. Yeah.
So let's save that. Just for this pop-up. It's only existing in this pop-up, and it doesn't hurt anything. F15. There, it's red.
Mm.
And because there's current going through, it's higher than 1. So let's say I wanted it to be red if it's higher than, like, it's getting really, really loaded, like 200 amps. So right now it's 145. It wouldn't meet that threshold. So let's put this value to 200 instead.
But if it's still less than that, it still won't have that icon show though when you need it like at 140 or 130 or.
Right now, I want it to go back to green because I'm basically saying, okay, it's not that loaded. I'm playing with the state right now.
Okay.
So basically, I just want to say if it's going to meet the threshold of 200 amps, it's going to be red. Like I wanted to kind of have a condition, right? And if it's not meeting that threshold, it's going to be green. And right now, it doesn't meet that threshold, so I should get a green now. I convert values 200 if it's more than, and less than 200, it'll be green. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So simple as that. So again, once we're getting into just simple binds and converting a value from a thing to another, basically taking a value, evaluating that value, and then setting a status or a condition, and then just changing a property of an object on the screen. So pretty cool, pretty powerful. I really like how you can change simple objects like that very easily into into something that means something. And then, of course, you could have a simple text field right beside it that says, status, and then just have this, become a 1 or a 0, and me be a red or a green flag, basically breaker status or alarm status. Um, and so we have a lot of those objects as well that we could add, for example, for state.
Do you have any like in PME, is there any way to manually enter numbers into a text, like create a text box where it can actually enter numbers into it as opposed
Oh,
to an analog value?
like a double click this and then make a change,
Uh,
like control a number,
yeah, control a number.
control a variable.
Yeah. So it's not technically linked to a device or anything. It's a
Yes, but it operates differently than PME, but yes,
okay.
we have those objects. Yeah.
Just
So what
thinking
will
of some
happen?
other project that we might want to use.
Yeah, what I've done, and I can just speak to an example that I've done on a project is so it was a set point. So there's two applications. One was like a PLC. Oh, sorry guys, I just have a delivery guy coming trying to buzz in. 1 second.
You there, Stan? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I was thinking actually creating a mimic display of some sort for switching procedures, that kind of stuff.
Oh, is that what yeah, I was wondering.
And if you type in that, yep, switched, it will go from red to green kind of thing.
Right, right.
How long can you stay till today, Stan?
I could stay for like maybe 40 minutes, like 3:40. But yeah, I've got to go because I got to pick up Matthew from school afterwards. He's at band today, and then I got to
Okay.
pick him up.
I think I want to see if I can get him to check on the problem first, and then if he fixes that, then he can come back to doing. There's only one other thing is the texting and alert event notification for texts.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so getting back to that, Richard. So you mentioned, yeah, so changing a value, like a set point, for example. So this is the example I can speak to. It was there was two things. One was a set point that we were changing, and that was getting written to a PLC that was then making a load threshold decision, right? Like a load shedding type thing. And the other was, a delay. So it was a substation application. We were doing transferring from A to B, B to A, and we wanted to tweak the delays of that automatic transfer or the breaker closed to open type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So those parameters were given to me by the registers were given to me by the PLC guy as read writable Modbus registers or addresses, and so then I could make a read writable register in my map, and then in the diagram, I then linked there's a pop-up basically that allows you to control a value. So basically what you do is you click on this, for example, and it would give you a small pop-up that says, okay, enter your value. You write the value, kind of like the button, but instead of to operate a breaker, you're entering a value. You type the value, give the value in, and you say okay, and then it sends that value.
Mm-hmm.
Type of thing. So it operates a little bit different than PME in terms of like PME, like you double click this and then it becomes like an editable window, or like an editable object. It's more like presents you with a new dialogue that you then write to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it at the end of the day accomplishes the task. And I'm sure we could tweak how that looks if you need, but that's the examples that I have so
Yeah.
far.
That's a future wish list item. I think we'll get ourselves a bit comfortable with this before we go down that road.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so where was I? Let's move this. Okay. Right. What else can I speak to? Oh, yeah, let's go back to one of those pop-ups, for example. I'm going to show you one more thing there. The final object of that control, for example. Remember when you said you wanted to remove the confirmation of credentials and things like that?
Yeah.
So that's just a setting right here, actually. Is credential confirmation required? It's false. We can make that true down the line if you need to. And then that will then kick that pop-up into effect to ask you to log in to confirm.
Okay.
So fairly easy to do, and it could be done on a per button basis, let's say, if you wanted specific buttons to be an extra credential to confirm.
Yeah.
Or not. Let's see what else we can. I mean, that's kind of similar to what the status on the transformer side of things is. These are mostly that type of object that I was talking about, where we have a text field. You have a bit of a component here that's showing you text and binding a value to that field. And I think, remember, this is all we're waiting on. Yes, I remember now. We're waiting on those 7550s, or sorry, the 7700s to
Yep.
be renewed, so that we can get these parameters, because
Yep.
that's coming from those. How is that going, by the way?
It's a work in progress. Unfortunately,
that-
our guy's been held otherwise to do maintenance projects. They'll be starting that in the next month or so.
Well, okay. Summertime, we'll look to
Yeah.
take that going. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let me know when you foresee needing some help with that, because I have some hours for that project.
Okay. Yeah.
Eric, is it a good time to cover or maybe just point out the high level of how and what will be captured from the real time into the ETAP model?
Okay.
You
Yeah.
mentioned,
So, yeah.
earlier on you touched out
Anything
on that. Yeah.
anything that is real-time status, from my understanding, or some values, is going to be passed over to ETAP. So I'm going to be passing them OPC UA tags that are picking up the real-time status from the tags in EPO. The live status of these tags, for example. And it's going to be, I don't think it's not going to be the alarms. It's going to be more the conditions, right? So that the close open state of the breaker, and the and the energization, right? And then and the values coming from the meters that are going to be the currents, the voltages, the kVA, kVAR, kVA type values.
And how does the integration work? Does that um like a directly integrate with the ETAP, or do we have to download a file and upload in ETAP, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, it works like you'll be able to in ETAP, you'll be able to click online mode, basically, go online, get values, and it's still within the ETAP window.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that doesn't have any specific technical requirements, for example, the ETAP version being compatible or anything like that? Is there any
No, it
restrictions?
does play into it. I think you guys were moved up by Mehdi is the guy working on it. Um, he's the guy who I mean he would have probably made you guys upgrade to that version already. I think.
I think we're actually
So
downgrading. The
oh,
ETAP has to catch up. Yeah, they're not actually, their real-time module isn't caught up to their current version of their software.
could be true. When was the last time you did an update on ETAP?
Well, we were already on a newer version of ETAP when you guys were deploying it to begin with. And that's when I talked to him about it. I said, you guys, our real-time
Okay.
module is only version 21. We're already on version 22 of ETAP. So we had
Oh,
to,
okay. No, their 22 is now having real time.
but
Yeah.
ETAP is actually up to version 25 now. So it's always a little bit chasing it behind.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I think it'll depend on what Matty wants to do there. But yeah, he'll
Yeah.
max your version so that your version is the version that has the real time engine. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll need to talk how that will look going forward too, to make sure that we don't have to, that, you know, whenever a new version of ETAP comes available, the real time works plug
Yes.
in at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah. You'd want to make sure that if you're doing any upgrades that it's compatible with
Yeah.
the real time. Yes. Correct. Yeah.
So this would be basically status and readings that would be captured. There is no like configuration data, any sort that can be
What would you
transferred.
mean? What would you mean by
So
configuration data?
So we had, in the past, I used an EMS system, energy management system that was done by GE eTera browser.
Yeah.
And one of the functionalities of that system was that it had a study mode. And that was basically an offline mode that would take a snapshot of the real-time like system that's including the configuration at the transmission level. And it basically would be like a screenshot of the system at any given time.
Mhm.
And then you can do like a basically contingency analysis or any kind of study you wanted to do, like a power flow study or anything.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
That sounds similar to what we're talking about. It's just
Yep.
I'm just not sure what you mean by configuration status. Like because you would capture the states of all the conditions that we're passing over, and the real-time values that are like the load flow
So, like for example,
values.
if we are talking about the status, like with the associated open or open breakers, let's say,
Absolutely.
be like
Everything
modified
here.
in our model, for example.
Everything here that you see on this single line,
Would be
status-wise,
reflected
is
on the.
going to be reflected. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that sounds
Mhm.
good then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Going up to the top, incoming, where you have these switches to
Yeah.
the breakers below. Yes, and the ties. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, on our end, the only thing we would need to do moving forward, is just to adjust the to update the new loads coming online, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a button that you basically say get data, get real time, and it will get a snapshot
Mm-hmm.
of the
Yeah,
data.
that would be really helpful. And that's when after 12B2 is in service? Is that when we would expect
No, we're
that?
gonna start to work on that soon, actually. For B1, I'm going to pass Medi the tags as they stand right now, because those are all live and working. So then he has the OPC UA tags, and then he'll reach out soon enough from then to make the ETAP side work.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll likely piggyback on that session to just have a look at what he's up to, what he's doing, because I'm learning that myself.
Yeah, it would be very interesting integration between the two. It just makes everything more stronger, I think, overall, like more visibility.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool, powerful tool once you get everything there.
Yeah.
I've seen I've been to the ETAP training for this piece down in Irvine.
Oh, you went there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
just.
took that training online
Oh
from
yeah,
here.
okay, yeah. You have both
Yes.
options. I think sometimes they have the online and sometimes they have the in class. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this
No,
one
it
was.
was actually in person also too. I think they had a combination in Irvine, but I did it from here, our office,
Mhm.
virtual. But it was really good. Yeah, they were really like a knowledgeable and strong team in
Yeah,
ETAP.
yeah, yeah. If you go there, you have a lot of workstations. So there's workstations for everybody. You're playing with the tool as as you want and doing labs, of course, like you did probably online. Um, and then there's a person who can come and help if you have a problem. There's lots of
Mhm.
helpers in the back as well for extra help, not just the guy who's standing in the front talking.
Maybe hopefully when we upgrade one day to the
Yeah, it's a good.
version 25 or like the next
Yeah,
version up would be an opportunity.
yeah, it's a good lab. It's a good lab environment. Yeah, good facility.
Eric, we're running a little short for Stan.
Sure,
Sepida and I could stay longer, but I was wondering if you could help out with our potential problem here, do some
sure.
diagnosis, and
Yep,
then we
let's
could
do
go
that.
into the E&M section.
Yeah, I think we can. We've beaten graphics down enough. I think let's move on to the next topic as well. So, what would you guys like to look at for respect to that issue
Yeah.
that Stan was
So,
talking about?
yeah.
Okay. So that was to do with the alarming and coming from F15 and F16, right? Or F15 for now, right?
Yeah, F15, but just on your screen because the data is live. We actually just my guys offloaded 12 F16 this afternoon and transferred all that load onto our 12 SA feeder. And I asked them to do a remote open, and we doesn't look like there's any alarms that have come through logging that breaker opened or went into the test position.
Right. So it's here.
Yeah,
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 that's why it's changed state.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's should be open here. Yeah, it's open
Yeah. And it's racked out right now,
and it's
but
racked out. Yeah,
yeah, but in your upper bar there's no logging that I
that's
see for any
right.
alarms that came through.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's have a look at that. So that's 16, you said? Ah,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
that
F16 and now also F15 from earlier this week.
that
But
would
there's so
be that would be why, because we don't have them as tags right now, currently.
okay, okay,
So yeah, because what I did was I didn't know that you guys were going to be using them because we had them qualified as future.
gotcha.
So
Okay,
because they were labeled as future, I thought not to enable alarming on them yet.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
if you could, we
you
will
guys
be
were
using them.
if you guys are
Yeah,
actively using them right now, then we should just enable them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we
yeah,
have to, everything needs
Okay.
to be enabled one way or another.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Even
Fair enough.
even if
That's exactly why the 15 didn't show up as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you
Yeah.
also verify, Eric, when you get time on the one right beside it, the 12T2 temporary? Because right now that is our temporary 12 kV breaker off of T2. So it's if something goes wrong there, we do need to know about it as well. It's the
All
very
right.
bottom left one.
Bottom left. Oh,
Bottom.
this
Yeah.
one here. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there
Yeah,
is load on
this
there. It's
one, there's
running
load.
half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now it's linked, and I have that labeled. That's right, and it's closed. It's getting flow. Let's just have a look at how I've labeled it. Good question.
It probably is labeled as 12G1.
I think it's G1, but did I do future or not? No, it's G1. So I think, yeah, we do have alarms tags for that, for the G1. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
it's called 12G1. So if you look at, if you see something coming in, right now it's called 12G1.
Okay. Gotcha.
Open, close, loss of potential, failed,
So it's
insert
a
position.
good opportunity. Let's connect those tags in now, and let's watch how this is done for the F16 and F15. Or is it a big deal?
Yeah, I'd have to make a change in a file right now to make this happen. So I can I'd need to take a little bit more time than you guys have, I think, right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
When's the
Um,
soonest?
yeah, I can. What I'll do, Richard, is when I do it, I'll do a little video record of it so that I capture that and I can show you.
Hopefully you can do that at your earliest convenience, Eric, because these are actually functional breakers or
Yeah,
functional feeders.
if we can, and I mean, it depends on how long Dewey can stand. He usually only has like until 4:30.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, we can set up another date with him
we can
to.
set up another date. Yeah, I can actually do sometime tomorrow if he can do like a couple hours. I would only need like an hour or so to do it, but
Okay. Okay.
I know we don't have much time left.
All right, then we'll put that to the side, and then
I can reach out to him and see if he can spare some time tomorrow, and I can get that done.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and video recording would be great.
Yeah,
Cool. Let's go into the E&M, the event notification thing.
sure. Okay, let's leave that. Okay, so next topics we have. And I took some screenshots. These are the other diagrams you guys have, and of course
Yeah.
these operate breaker buttons, since they are the the simplified version of your graphics for mobile, they launch the same exact pop-ups. So there's literally no difference there. It's just the launch from another diagram, same exact pop-up.
Oh yeah, this is another thing Stan wanted to see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so alarms and or E&M kind of go together here. So this is a helpful file link to parts. So there's a huge part of this on the operate section on viewing, acknowledging, enabling, disabling alarms. So there's an ability in the system as well to do things like enabling alarms, disabling alarms, so that if you don't want to see that even come in as an alarm. So again, notifications are always based on an alarm, but if you disable that alarm, that notification, of course, is not going to come through. And there's also things called shelving and unshelving. So shelving being, I want to take this alarm and shelve it for, like, I know about it, but I don't want it to be showing for 2 days, let's say. You can shelve it for a certain amount of time, and you can put a timer on that, and it will come back after that time is expired. So there's some nice features there with respect to alarming and the management of them. And that's all within the user interface here under alarms. So right now, by default, I have the active alarms being the view that shows, and again, clicking on the dots section here of any of these views allows you to set them as default. So that's why so far I've set this one as default. So that initially right away, it takes you to what's active. Similar to this view at the top, this is a small little window of what's the most recent 3 alarms that came through. And so that's why you'll see in here that spring charged, the CV close, and the other spring charges, those 3 that came in. That's the top 3. And now these are what they're doing is they're active and acknowledged. Yes. What is this active alarm view? Is edit state. It has to be fully active, not active and unacknowledged. Yeah. So that's why they don't show up. Okay. And if we click on that top view, should take us to, yeah, there we go, all alarms. That's taking us to our all alarms view. Let's look at E&M and how this relates to it. So E&M is launched, and this is unfortunate, but the way it is, it's launched via the tag viewer, the same application, the runtime. So you go to alarms and events, and we need to go to alarm log. So this is like the thick client version of the alarm log, and then underneath here is called notification settings. Yeah, so it's asking for a authentication. You have to authenticate here to manage it. So supervisor. So you have to manage it from the server. Notification settings. Then it loads the E&M app or settings app. So what does this look like and how does this work exactly? There is a good help file on this as well. Here's my reference. Here, configure E&M and then E&M references. I like both of them. So this configure E&M link that I have here, it takes you straight to creating notifications. So there's a nice step through process here, and a whole bunch of options here, from managing your recipients to setting schedules, enable test delivery. Okay, so I'll get into this in a sec. And then the user interface, this second thing is a reference that talks about the different parts of this user interface. Okay, so if you're ever wanting to do a bit more learning on it, these 2 links really get you there. Okay, so what happens here is we have a set of notification groups set up. There's RTAC alarms, there's meter alarms, and there's overcurrent alarms. And this is a sort of If you add a new, that's going to create a new top level here. Based on that grouping, you have like kind of 3 tiers. You have the filter that's applied. You have the groups of people that are involved in getting that notification. And then you have a message template that's going out based on that alarm. So what do we have for a template? We only have one UBC template. And it's new. Okay, we don't want to make new. We want to edit the existing to see what it looks like. That's under here, notification components. We have templates. There's our UBC template, and we can edit it. Okay, so this is the body of the subject line and the body of the email that gets sent out.
And this is one of my pet peeves, actually.
Okay.
So when we get the alarm, there's so much superfluous text in there that
Yep.
it's
Okay,
almost
that can be chunked down.
yeah.
Needed,
So
yeah.
I'd have to
So if you wanted to evaluate or just write down for yourself or for me in an email like what you want to see, or just chop up one of those existing notifications that you get and say this is good, this is not good, this is good, just cross it out, and then we could do away with the stuff that's not needed.
Stan, I don't know if Stan's had to go now or he's still online, but I'm sure he has this.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that some of the alarms that, like Richard mentioned, they come through. Like if they chopped it down, some of the basic words like breaker racked out or breaker in test position. That's all it needs to say. It doesn't have to have anything extra. And it says breaker opened or breaker closed. Some of those real basic. That's all we really need to see in some of it. Because we'll go and depending on. Because I'll know when there's someone working on the system, if that was a planned breaker open or an unplanned breaker open.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Especially after hours, we'll know typically that, something happened. This is actually an issue for us.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, just give me some examples of notifications that you wanted to chop up and reduce and or this is where you can come and do that yourself as well. Once I do one as well, I could tell you, I could do a little video snippet of here's what I'm taking and here's where I'm reducing it down to.
Well, just when you went to the edit, I was just cross-referencing it with the notification. I could see pretty clearly what gets labeled and what's tied to what here. So that looks pretty simple for us to change on our side.
Pretty simple if you wanted to tweak it and change it.
Yeah. Basically, it'll come down to date and time and tag and nothing else.
And you can see the preview right here. So as you edit it, this will adjust itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see, like, for example, tag, this whole tag field we could take out.
Oh, that's actually important.
If that's important,
that's the only important part. The rest of it is
okay. The full tag, the state, isn't that important? Or the alarm is more important?
Because the tag tells you what the state is in.
Okay. Yes, you're right. So because the tag is already descriptive. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the alarm itself
the state is kind of redundant. The alarm might be.
The alarm is redundant.
Might be redundant as well. Yeah.
I'll look at a few of the different ones to see what's redundant and what's not redundant. But we could probably. But it looks pretty easy to cross-reference.
Pretty easy. Yeah, just to take out a line, and again, you could always make a new template if you don't want to mess this one up. You can call this the verbose template and the minimalist template, something. Just make a new one.
So that was through, that you did that.
That's under the second tab, and then the second tab allows you to modify the stuff that's going into the first tab. So basically, you've got filters here, you've got recipients here, you've got schedules, and you've got templates, and all of those things that are on this second tab, fill into the first tab.
Gotcha.
Right? You've got your filters, you've got your groups and people, and then you've got your templates and your schedules. So everything basically is managed by this one main tab in the first tab, but the setup of stuff can be done in that second tab.
Yep.
And then settings and diagnostics, you've got maintenance mode. That's also highly useful sometimes. So let's say we're going in and making a bunch of edits, but we don't want to, spur off some weird alarms because of the edits that we're doing. That's what that does. It enables us to just like stop notifications from going out. You'll still get alarms happening in the system, but the notifications will be stopped temporarily while we're doing the maintenance.
And I see you have the email set up and SMS set up there. What do those do?
Yeah, so SMS is not really set up though, because that requires a COM port and a modem to send those out. So, this is configured by default. It's out of the box configured like this, but it's not actually doing anything.
And so you're
email
still
setup is the main thing. This is how everything is getting sent out here.
Yeah.
It's this SMTP, the from address, of course, and then you have your port. So if IT ever changes this stuff, this is where we need to adjust.
Did you get that SMTP directly from the old E&M?
I did. I think that's where I got it from. That's look at how old that address is, right?
I think we're actually using a different SMTP now.
Okay.
Too. Might have to check that with dude.
I mean, this one's still functional.
Yeah, I know it's a legacy, and it's still.
But if it's legacy and it will eventually go away, then we should update it.
I think all the emails are forwarding to the new, or all the whatever anything that's pointing to that one points to a new one now, or forwards to a new one.
Man, interchange. It's old.
That's old. It's very old. So
find it here.
Sorry?
I'm curious now. Okay, so tags that are associated with the RTAC seem pretty easy. Overcurrent alarms, that seems a little, or any other type of alarm that's not a.
It's not a digital, more or less.
Digital, yeah.
So like an overcurrent. So yeah, for example, here's a rule. These are the rule-based type alarms that are based on a value. So let's have a look here. We've got overcurrent A, B, and C. It's a little bit bigger. Okay. Yeah, what this is, Richard, these are the onboard, again, these are the onboard set point alarms on the meters. So the nice thing about this is we have custom criteria here that we could do, but as well, these are alarms that are happening on board the meter. So if we make that alarm meaningful on the meter, that's going to flow through to here. So it's an overcurrent set point alarm on the meter. Right now, they're probably not set, and that's why they're not doing anything yet. But if you wanted to make them, simply opening ion setup and modifying them would do the trick.
So do I have to use ion setup still, or
ion setup is still useful for all the ion meters? Yeah.
Is there a designer running in the background here at all, or
you could open up in Designer because we are connected to them. Yeah.
So it still exists.
You have your choice. You could use Designer to open up the whole framework because they are still ion meters. Yeah, you still have that functionality. Yeah.
Okay, so Designer is still it's sitting on this
platform. Designer's on the box. Yeah.
Okay. And I could so this has right now specific A, B, and C. Can I just have an average overcurrent alarm?
We probably could. I think by default, they're not out of the box made by an I average, but that would be something we'd have to either change one of these set point alarms or just make a new one. Let's say we made a new one, add custom criteria. We have to have that condition though. Where's the condition?
Another example is
this is looking for our tag, but we don't
So-
want the tag. We want to evaluate that tag. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're still running the two servers. The other one's running legacy stuff, and we've got an interesting alarm that we have now that's set for power factor. So if our power factor goes below a certain level, it will, after a certain period of time, I think it's set for 30 minutes, I can't remember, it will send us an alarm or an email or event notification. How do I do something like that? Is that, again, an Ion setup or designer thing?
Let's have a look. Okay, so below power factor was a certain level for a certain amount of time as well.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Okay, let's have a look and see if we have here for.
I know Stan is running out of time. Any last things that you need to learn right now, Stan, before you take off?
I think I'm okay for right now.
His brain's
try to-
exploding.
Yep. And information overload. Yep.
Yeah, as usual. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Videos and tutorials are good. Thanks, Eric.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely buffer that stuff for later in the brain.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
shelve
Yeah.
those learnings for later.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to link this to you guys. So I'll send you this whole list as well as those those links to the to the playlists. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and
Yeah.
I'll let you carry on with Richard and Sepida, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Eric.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks,
Okay.
Dan. Thanks a
Take
lot.
care. Okay.
See you tomorrow, Stan.
See ya. See ya. Actually, Richard, I'm off tomorrow, so see you Thursday.
Oh, see you Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. See ya.
Take care.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna look for here, using advanced alarm filters. Because we can add rule, and those rules. Starts with over, okay. How about we add factor of range. I think I get it. Okay, so basically we're not using the notification. Yeah, this is making sense. So we're not using the notification manager here to manage alarms, right? We're managing notifications. So that alarm has to exist already. So it has to be created within the application, not within the notification manager. So it has to be an alarm that we then create a notification based on. So that's why this is only just showing me just like what are the alarms that are coming from the devices, because that's literally where it has to be created first. If it doesn't exist as an alarm, then we're not going to create a notification based off of it.
All right, so now I need to create an alarm called power factor alarm or something like that, right?
Right. So we have to have a low power factor alarm type thing as an alarm condition. Yeah.
And then that's done through basically.
Okay, so that's a good example question. So below a certain level for a certain amount of time, I'm going to suggest we can do it in two ways. And one way off the top of my brain, I know how to do. The other way, I don't. But So
Which is the easy way.
one way. So that's why I would lean towards the easy way, which is probably already the way that you know how to do as well. So we could create this framework as a set point module in the meter.
Yeah.
And then just pull it as an alarm into the system. And that way, I like that way as well, because then we're creating the alarm on the meter as well as probably into the system. Yeah. The other way could be using a code function, but I don't know how to do that off the top of my head.
Okay. So an
Yeah.
alarm in my pbrain world is, a value above, say, 128 to 255 or something like that.
Yep.
Priority. So that
Yep.
automatically constitutes an alarm, and it should come into the alarm
and
notification.
then we should be able to enable that through the system. Yeah. So I'll have to take that off and get you that. Let's say what would be the criteria below what 0.9?
Right now we're set to 0.88.
0.88. Okay.
For 30 minutes.
And for 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting one to see how that's done, because I'm not exactly sure how it all ties together, because it seems that we have two different systems here. We got the PME and we got the EPO, and somehow the alarms work together. In that part, I can't wrap my head around.
Well, yeah, what we're doing basically is EPO is the alarm, is running the alarm server and running the alarm engine. But we're taking tags from both from the meters that are ion meters, and we're taking tags from the RTAC, right? And
I'm just curious. So if I set up the set point alarm in Designer, I'm going to use Designer because that's my easy way of doing it.
Yeah.
If I set up the set point alarm in Designer, it hasn't existed yet. The alarm has never been launched. It's just sitting there waiting to launch. So how does EPO know that it exists?
Yeah, so I have to check into that, whether EPO has to look at specific set points that it's already preset to look at.
Yeah.
Because I know that it already knows certain alarms coming from the meters. And maybe we have to repurpose one of them, or if we make a new one, we might have to make a change to the mapping to allow it. So I have to check into that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then at the end of the day, it's going to find that alarm, because it does have the ability to see those onboard alarms, and then pull them. Yeah.
Yeah. And looking at your example there, it looks like you can actually configure any type of alarm you want to, realistically, based on that example. There wasn't specific to tags that exist.
Yeah, like these are all alarms, and a lot of these are like disturbance, sag swells. These are all, those onboard alarms that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Coming from the ion meter. Yeah. And this is over current, A, B, and C. Neutral, over power factor, or over power as a set point.
Power, real power, total.
And this is our digitals, right?
Yeah.
These are the three digital inputs, let's say S1, S2, S3. So yeah, the ability to either reuse or expand on this would be what I'm gonna check.
Yeah.
And
that's what I liked about the Designer level at the meter function. I could actually, at least I had, based on my experience, I could do all kind of functions to analog values to create another alarm as a result. Like, I could add these two values, B and C, over currents.
Yeah.
I could, put some other type of attribute to it as well, and make this long formulaic alarm requirement all at the meter level.
Yeah, condition-based. Lots of condition-based type alarm, yeah.
Or similarly in VIP too. I don't know if Designer exists, then VIP exists, I'm going to guess.
VIP still exists on board the server. Yeah. So It could operate as a node in the back end doing some calculation and as well now in terms of basically our alarm and EPO seeing that data, we could route that data into EPO too. Yeah. That's basically a connection to itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
An example is right now our configuration is we're running two feeders that are connected. It actually wasn't that way now, but it was for a period of time that
Yeah.
we were using two of the feeders, backfeeding them from T2, but
Right.
the condition was that the two feeders running parallel had to be below, both of these added together had to be below 800 amps.
Ah,
So I needed to actually add one feeder plus the other feeder to equal 800 or less. That could only be done at a VIP level. I can't do that
yeah.
at a meter level.
Right. Yeah, because you're tying two them together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense to do it at the VIP level. Yeah.
Similarly, going forward too, if we are going to do through some type of load shedding activities, I
Hmm.
need to know what L56 plus L57 are to
Hmm.
make sure that, okay, as long as these two are below 55 megawatts, we do not need to incorporate demand response. But if it goes above 55 megawatts, I may need to incorporate the demand response. So that would send out an alarm system or alarm notification.
Okay. Yeah. Below. So you said below or above?
Above.
Above 55 megawatts. Yeah.
So that's a couple of examples. The other one I mentioned was it's gone, it's done now because that was during one of the construction phases. But the 55 megawatts is the real one.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a yeah, sort of a demand response load shed
Yeah,
type scheme.
yeah. So I'm presuming that is somehow built into this. They just need to know how to get to that.
Yeah, that's another good example of how best to use like a function of the system. I mean, I'll look at I'll look at ways that we can do that, and there again might be multiple, but which is the best and easiest way to go about it?
Yeah, I'm a simple guy. Give me the easiest way. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, yeah, something that, and we can just quickly document and say, okay, here's how you do it.
Yeah,
Or here's the function block that does it, and then if you want to change that set point, 55 megawatts, just change this parameter. There you go.
yeah, yeah.
That type of thing. Because if we had a hard set, I would want that setting to be able to be changed if you wanted to.
Going back to the RTAC information.
Here or
Yeah, yeah.
in the list? Yep.
No, and the alarm level.
Yep.
I don't know if how to, or if it is set that way. If the breaker is tripped, so I guess it'd be the PHOC DTI DMT. How come why do those have lines out of, do they mean they're not available?
It means I think it's excluded right now. Let's have a look. Yeah, those are excluded.
Oh, okay.
There's an exclusion list here and then the inclusion list.
Okay, so that kind of answers that other question. So if I want to create a separate group of recipients for that exclusion list only, I could
Hmm.
do that.
Yep.
And I can literally pick and choose every one of them individually to include in the list.
Yeah. Yeah, right now it's including everything, and then the way that this is working, and you've got the add custom criteria, you've got starts with, you've got contains, you've got equals. These are the filters to do kind of a mass criteria. Um, and then the exclusions are taking away from that mass list. Um, so basically, basic alarm filters. And then we've got, and that's kind of what we're doing here. Advanced alarm filters.
Oh, I see you have some priority level filters in there too, at least
So
according to
here you do advanced, and then you go into contains, and then there's a whole bunch more. Yeah, there's a this is probably where you want to go. Just go to the show advanced, and then add the rule that way, and then there's a better way to.
there's a show advanced button.
Yeah, yeah, right there. So right here.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
So let's say I was to add a new one of these guys. And then I'm gonna go add new alarm filter. With that one, new alarm filter. And then show advanced. Default rule. No, I don't want everything. Add rule. So right now contains everything. No. How about tag contains OC. See, but OC, and then we can pick off all the OCs or whatever.
Hmm.
You can add multiple here. Tag contains. Oh, I think this is doing an and here. So
Yeah,
maybe, yeah, let's not. Let's throw that away for a sec. So OC underscore. Yeah, and now it's finding all the OCs. Okay, save. So that's 46. So this is basically recurrence. Oh, really? You're finding that too? How about this? There. Underscore OC underscore. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So there's 11 of those. Yeah. So yeah, you can make a rule that's very specific. And then, you could add another rule. So that's just calling out those ones. You could add another rule for another set and another set, and then that's new conditions that I've just made. Don't need this.
I,
That's new conditions that I've just made that
yeah.
are just that list, and now I can make a new group of people to get those
Oh,
alarm
okay.
conditions.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much like that. The show advanced helps get you into very specific tag based rules.
Yeah. No, that's actually very helpful for me because that is much more like the ENM that we have right now. You could
Okay.
all the conditions that we have.
Yeah.
And the conditions can be plenty.
Yeah, and you could have multiple, and you'd want that all to be grouped together as a certain type of conditions that are, filter rules and exceptions. And again, you can add exceptions if you wanted to make a mass
Yeah.
filter and then just exclude certain things. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I've got enough
Yeah.
for now, and then
So
I'll wait to hear back from you about how the PME events factor in.
yeah, I'll have to take a look at that, and I'll set a time with whenever Dewey can do. I'll work on, first of all, make sure that those 15 and 16 alarms are enabled,
Hmm.
and then look at the other stuff.
Yeah, let me
Oh,
know when you want to sign in next time so I can create a new ticket for Dewey or whoever's gonna be on deck. They like to do
sure.
each session by ticket. This one here
Yeah.
might be able to get by without it for 15,
One
16.
ticket per session. Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Or if we
Yeah,
told Dewey in advance, he might just say, yeah, fine, no problem.
right. Okay. Um, okay, let's see if my schedule looks like. Yeah, I'll what's my schedule like tomorrow? Oh, yeah, he wants us to wrap up by 4:30, he's saying.
Yeah, okay.
Got an email. Okay. What am I doing tomorrow? I have the afternoon tomorrow. Could be useful if he can do it, if you can ask him like 1 p.m. onwards,
Um,
and I would be able to get the F-16 and F-15 done.
see if I can send him a chat.
Otherwise I would say Friday. I could start in the morning.
Sorry, when was that, Eric?
Either tomorrow afternoon, like 1 p.m. onwards, or Friday. And I could start in the morning on Friday.
Spell tomorrow. Said, just fix it. Okay, see what he says about that.
I guess we
I
didn't
mean,
have time for the trending today. Maybe we can cover that in the next session, eh? Eric?
Yeah.
well, we still have a half hour unless
We
Eric
still
has
have half
someplace
an
to
hour.
go.
I can talk about trends. I think we're done this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll save this actually as a little filter I added. I didn't do anything with it. There's nobody selected.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
So
good. I
it's
can
it's
actually
just test conditions. You
play
can
with that one.
see them. And then I didn't modify these, so they're there still. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me just write to Dewey here.
Gotta send a ticket to him anyway to create a new window user group.
Yeah.
Not sure exactly how they do that.
Yeah. Trends is my next topic actually. So, and we're almost done. Actually, trends is basically the last one. I was just going to show the PME side of things to Richard, but pretty easy. So, trends is a nice and simple app. It's actually probably one of the more simple and easy to configure web apps we have. Let me go to the little configure file, configuring trends. So this gets into adding a new trend, editing, sharing, moving. And then when it comes to operating, this is just a bit about the user interface, how it looks. very if you know how to make a chart, you know how to make a trend. Basically, is what I'm gonna tell you. And where's that user interface link? Trends reference.
Hey, Eric, what time were you hoping to get online tomorrow?
1 o'clock would be good. 1 p.m. Yeah, nothing made here actually. Yeah. So is out of the box, this is an empty blank slate. You can make it with what you want. Right now I've made trends for voltage for the two main incomings. You can pick from a whole lot of different measurements that you have coming in from these meters. I'm gonna, usually these are done for analog signals, right? Trending the analog signal, but I'm sure we could do one for voltage too, or sorry, for digitals as too. But basically what this does is it trends it over time, and it also allows you to go back in time. So you can see the right on the right hand side here, the real time value is updating, and you have a little update in it's ticking away, and that's going to get a new signal from the field. So in this case, these 2 meters are kind of moot points right now. They're not giving us values, but this is the 1 meter that is. And if I added a feeder, so let's say I duplicated this, you can simply go to one of them that you like, that's good, and you can duplicate. That's how I like to make a new trend, especially if it's something I want to be similar. And now I can say, let's say I wanted the 12T1, for example, that meter that's just below the transformer on the 12 kV side. Okay, and go to my voltages. I'm going to pick off, I'm going to get my line to lines and then my A, B, and C. So line to line average. You have to pick on the left hand side, you have to pick the meter, and then the right hand side, you have to pick your measurement. And then make sure whenever you want to do this, I would suggest always picking this box down here. So what this is the data source. So is this real time? That's this symbol. Is it historical? That's the database. And is it both? So, you get the best of both worlds if you pick both. Means you get the real time coming in, as well as you can go back in time and see what's happened. So, okay. Edit. T1. Let's go A, B. That's the one I want. Okay. T1, B, C. C. A. Okay. And we'll go 12. T1. Okay, looking good. Save. And by clicking on these, I can deselect these. Just by clicking them, I can turn them on or off. So they'll still be around in the library so that I can, select them later in the future when they become active. But for now, I can just turn them off, so I'm not flooding my view. And right here we have the view ability to change how far back in time we're going with this value. Right now out of the box, I duplicated it, and it's for 24 hours. I can go back 7 days. I can see that voltage trend over the last 7 days. Quite nice. I can zoom in if I wanted to take a look at this particular high point or low point. I can click this little inspect button and zoom in to a specific window. See that? I can make this big, make it really nice view. Let's zoom in again.
What do these colors represent?
Yeah, so there's the 3-phase voltages and the line to line.
Oh my,
Like phase to phase, I've selected all four basically, all phase to phases and the phase to phase, the line to line average.
so can you deselect
Oh yeah,
individuals?
yeah. I mean, I just added them as a data series. So
Okay.
if I remove those three, then I would just see the line to lines. Let's say I wanted to trend two of just the line to line averages instead of all of these. I could put them all on the same plot instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how far back in time can you go? Like, does that go back to where the meter was installed, or?
Well, no, you got up to a year's worth of data here in the trend view. You can go and run a report and get, years worth of data, but not in a trend. The trend is basically from today going back in time up to a year.
Mhm.
You've got 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. Yeah, the meter will, a year from now it will have existed for, a year and plus change, more than that, since it's been installed.
Yeah.
Once B2 comes around, that'll start accumulating that data.
Yeah.
And all of those meters, and you'll have trends going forward from there.
And then in terms of parameters that we can trend, like is that like everything, like KV, like the VAR, reactive power, and
all of those real-time tags that we're talking about,
they will all
that variable list we can trend. KVR, KVAR, KVA. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Is that, I see there's a little download button up there. Is that downloading CSV?
That will download straight to CSV, this entire window. And it's really fast. So let's say that's 7 days. Let's go 6 months. That happened. Thinking. Go. Oh my gosh, look at that. Okay, so it had an outage there. Otherwise, I was back. So it's gone back and gotten, back to December. 6 months. Download. CSV file. So I think it's just gone to my downloads folder. Let's go to that. There they are. So yeah, one was 49 kilobytes, the other was 1.2 megabytes.
Yeah, and then you can plot these if you wanted to, basically.
Oh yeah.
Through Excel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's almost as good as RepGen.
Oh, that's good. I don't know if you know RepGen. Sepide, that's an inside joke.
No, but I figured that it would be something that would look like that.
It's the old
I could
school
just imagine
of the old school Excel-based reports that, the only way you could get cool functionality was from macros, and ended up. Yeah, that's old school. Yeah, real old school.
But it worked like a charm, though. It worked beautifully.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As long as you were licensed for Excel, it worked.
Yeah.
We had a similar, basically trending system software for like real time as well as historical data. It was called plant alterations, PI, for short.
Oh,
and
PI,
then PI, yeah. So then the Excel report that it would give us, it looked exactly like that, and it basically meant nothing until you were able to manipulate that data in some way.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't get any trend or fancy graphs at all until you
the
took it out of
pie,
there, right?
well, in Pi you could, but if
On
you
Pi you could. Okay.
yeah, if you exported it as a CSV, then that would be a different
CSV
story.
is just pure data. Yeah, that's all
Yeah,
CSV is. Yeah,
but
exactly.
the functionality was very similar to what you were explaining. Like it was also tied to our SCADA points in the system, and then eventually when they introduced the smart meters, it started collecting data off of smart meters as well. So then it became more of a granular, like a telemetry and supervisory system.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So
These
anytime.
are really powerful.
Yeah, there's a lot of power here, and again, the nice thing is this is very snappy. It's a quick view, and you can always quickly go back in time if you've set them up. You can turn them on and off, so they're not, they're existing in your library. You can create them like this with the plus sign, or just duplicate an existing. Either way gets you there. If you click the plus sign, it starts you from scratch through the wizard. You can create folder structures so that if you wanted to put, all the B1 trends in one area, or just feeders or currents, however you wanted to folder structure it, you can create folders.
And you can also use them for event investigation too, right? Like, for example, if you're like a force outage happened in the past.
Yeah.
Like you can put it beside the other protection devices data, and then it would basically
Now
explain.
the thing I'll mention is this is a 15-minute capture, right? So it's not everything in real time. Like if you see a quick outage and it comes back, power comes back, that's not going to show up in the trend. The trend is more like a historian style, where every 15 minutes you get a capture.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
the shortest interval.
But notice the front of my trend. Notice what's happening here. Look how detailed that is. That's because this is a kind of a two things in one. You were getting the real-time updates happening in real time, as well as that 15-minute capture going back in time. Yes. So actually, if you leave this open, like as an operator screen, let's say, however big this plot goes, you will just continually get samples, much quicker samples. So however often you set this, so this is every 5 seconds, it's taking a sample, and that's here. From device, every 5 seconds. From database, 5 minutes. Well, it's going to get it every 15, and then maximum per series, you can change this, but right now it's set to 40,000 data points. So however much you're going to fit, you're just going to fill this into 40,000 data points.
Okay. So
you can fill this up 40,000 times 5 seconds. That's a pretty big buffer.
So
but then that will increase that the sampling will be much more faster. So if I stop this and I inspect this now, just the most recent stuff, this is where all of a sudden I get much better granular data.
That's right. Yes.
So some people like to, let's say this is a operator screen. They want this on a window and they just leave this open in a browser. It's there, and it's like you've instantly increased the sample rate, but you didn't actually do anything in the back end. So you're not actually taking up more hard drive space. You didn't increase the memory that you're using. You didn't increase the only memory that you're using is basically the browser memory in cache.
That's right.
And that's where the load is coming in. It's just coming into browser.
Basically, you're just increasing the resolution for that period of time.
Yeah, for this period of time. So let's say you wanted to do a test, and you wanted to really look at the test live as you were doing the switching or something.
Yeah.
You could set this up to watch for what you wanted to watch for, and then say go, and then you would see at least down to 1 second resolution, you would be able to see.
Yeah, so it can be used for like a real-time type
It
of
can be used for real time.
investigation.
Yeah, up to 1 second.
Yeah.
Continuous is basically as fast as 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Again, with this trending thing, can you trend a virtual meter that's a combination of 2 meters?
Yes, we could. Now it's not in the system right now, so we'd have to add it. But yeah,
And
we could do
how
it.
do you add that? Again, is this through PME kind of
Yeah,
thing?
that's basically getting into your similar idea of the load shedding idea.
Yeah.
So basically that virtual meter would function and operate in both scenarios.
Yeah.
You'd be able to make trends based off of it and also make decisions for
Yeah.
alarming based off of it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna check into what's the easy way to do that. Yeah.
Is there a way to grab, if I'm, for executive reports and such, do I have to do screen grabs of these graphs, or can you actually download a PDF of the graph?
Well, I would do either one of these. So I would either maximize and do a nice screen grab, like especially with your mouse hovering over top, if you
Yeah.
wanted to capture those values. That makes for a nice screenshot.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Otherwise, I would take it off as a CSV and then do your own plot.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. One or the other. Yeah, especially when you're getting a nice granular feed
So I
like
guess
that.
going back to Sipiday's first question, as far as event analysis, this is not the tool for it. So say an event happened and she wants
Right.
to analyze, what happened and
Right.
how it might have, chain of events or something like that. How would she do that?
Yeah, okay, so sequence of events is basically in the alarms end. And if we're talking about down to the event level, that's here. So go to alarms and go to recent events and just look at all of the nitty-gritty coming in here because this is everything. This is all the alarms and how they're
Like a log
changing.
point,
Yeah,
basically.
all
Yeah.
the detailed logging going on behind the scenes based on events.
So anything to do with the RTAC and the meters, right?
Yeah, all the tags that we're capturing alarms based on.
Yeah.
That's what's coming in here.
Is there any correlation to this and the power quality event? Like, do they show up on here?
Yeah, like disturbances, they will.
Yeah.
They will come in here, yes.
Because presumably, if we had a breaker trip, it would have triggered a disturbance.
Yeah, let me find an example.
We did have one that happened in February. I'm not sure how far back you can go on here.
These are all the old.
Can you filter by breaker? Like, can you type in F12, F11?
Yeah, F11.
Okay, that was
Yeah, we're not getting.
It might have been a different one.
This is.
Oh, it's not going back past May here.
1 month.
So
yeah, let me see here what we've got for settings.
So the commissioning and the in-service date for these would have been sometime earlier in 2024, right?
No, these have been in service since 23.
Oh, okay.
So we had the event that happened in February of 2024 to
Yeah.
feeder 12F11.
So this should have captured that then.
It should have.
Yeah.
Sorry, when was it?
If you want a specific time, I'd have to go back into the system or get remotes. But the outages. Sorry, that was in January 13th.
Okay.
Oh, no, my bad. Yeah, January 13th. Yep.
Yeah, I have to see why we're not getting stuff that's older. I mean, this was functional back then, so it should have picked it up. I just wonder if it's buffered it.
Oh, does it?
So if 11 CB open is not it?
It should have been a trip. So you would have got one of those OC.
Yeah,
CO
CB
type thing.
open.
So this open and close means like a planned operation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The opens might be after the fact, but close
Open
is
would be
always...
after the trip. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But before that, you would get one of these overcurrent type of signals that we have to change.
Yeah,
The
due
name
to
of
default.
is a bizarre name.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that as to why alarms
This would be a good test for
showing
event capture.
past.
So yeah, that one should have triggered a PQ power quality event, which
Do we
theoretically...
see that? Sorry to interrupt. Do we see that? Did we see that in the SEL relay for F11?
What do you mean?
The that event of F11
It captured it.
It captured it.
Yep.
Okay.
But the ion meters have a much higher resolution, so they capture some very granular waveforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have waveform capture ability. So when you get in a disturbance event, Sexwell, you could get a waveform capture along with that you can then blow up. And
so that was so in that particular event, it would have created some kind of power quality disturbance or power quality incident or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Could I click on that and would it take me to the waveforms?
Yeah, it's supposed to do that. Yeah, if we have that, it should take us to the waveforms. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. Is you have that ability, and that ability comes right into the alarm viewer, so you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this event also there would be a link to that waveform if we had it captured.
Yes, exactly. You would have waveforms captured, and it would show up like you go into the alarm, and then you'll have Sexwell capture, and you'll be able to drill into that. So, for example, here's let me go to alarms real quick. We gotta get off soon, but let me just show you. Viewing events, disturbances, waveform analytics, viewing waveforms.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you find the alarm, then you click details, and then there's in the details that you can see clip waveforms,
Okay.
basically. Yeah.
That would be the transient waveforms that shows the pre and post event
Yeah.
values.
That's captured by the high speed metering.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where the data is coming from the meter, from the ion meter, right?
Yeah.